Hello and thanks for staying with us. Welcome to Political Platform on Repa Radio and Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Amici Anapwe. Now, as Ekiti State prepares to go to the polls this Saturday, all eyes are on the fountain of knowledge as voters decide who will lead the state for the next political cycle. The governorship election comes at a time when issues of leadership, development, accountability, and security, and the future direction of the state remain central to public debate. With the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, assuring stakeholders of preparedness, attention is now focused on peaceful participation, credible voting, and acceptance of the outcome. Beyond the campaigns and political contests, the Ekiti governorship election raises important questions. What are the major issues shaping voters' decisions? How have the candidates presented their visions for the state? And what should citizens expect from whoever emerges as the next governor? We will examine the dynamics surrounding the Ekiti state governorship elections, the expectations of the electorate, and the challenges awaiting the next administration. This will be the first election, state governorship election, to be conducted using the 2026 Electoral Act. Perhaps it will present a litmus test for the 2027 general election. Another litmus test for that election will be the Osun State governorship election, which will almost follow that of Ekiti State. Beyond the elections, we will also dwell on Nigeria's worsening security situation. Several states have enacted laws that empower buildings used for kidnapping and other forms of criminalities to be pulled down. Edo State Governor Mondo Beholo on Thursday advocated death penalty, not just for death penalty, but he was specific on hanging for those involved with kidnapping. We shall consider these measures today as we welcome my colleagues, Ujueje Sholajasimi and Mustafa Mohammed. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Amici. You see, you rightly pointed out that it's a litmus test, the Ekiti election for 2027 elections, and of course for the INEC chairman. And most times you see that they reassure that everything is okay, INEC is ready, the security agencies will say they are ready. Well, let's see how well this will go. But I hope that we do not get to see those things that marred past elections. I hope that the Beavers machines, all of them will work very well. And I also hope that the security agencies will really do their work this time and will not look the other way when people are sharing money publicly, debasing the electoral process. Let's hope that every man will do his work with a conscience, putting Nigeria first.
Shola.
Ekiti, again, one of the off-cycle elections, like we've just said. I was in Ekiti, went around some local governments in the last governorship election, which produced Biodun Yebanji, who is the incumbent now, who is also seeking re-election. And I recall how we transversed various parts of that state, myself and colleagues who were deployed there. And it was a great outing. But let's not forget that in that particular election, one of those sides said a couple of things needed to have been done better. For that to happen, the current IG, that's Mr. Olatunji Disu, he has done what some of his predecessors also normally do. On the eve of an election, the police headquarters deploys a new commissioner of police. Michael Falade is the one who is at the Ekiti Police Command as CP, but only yesterday, or maybe a couple of days ago, Abayomi Shogunle from Force Headquarters has been deployed to Ekiti as the commissioner of police for the election. So probably once the election.
Perhaps some DIGs will also complement.
Yes, no, that normally happens.
Of course,
Yeah.
Yes. So and for
and already DIGs have been deployed to their different geopolitical zones to coordinate
the insecurity
yes.
that we're faced with. So for INEC itself, which is conducting the election, Dr. Bumi Omo Sheindemi and his team, he will also have some recs from surrounding states to come and support the work. You know, what they normally do is split it into senatorial districts. Maybe the rec in Ondo will take charge of Ekiti North. The rec in maybe Kogi, or the rec in, what's the other state now, surrounding Edo, might come around. So that you have a full complement of senior staffers of either the commission or the police to ensure the process is smooth and transparent. So it's left for the Ekiti people now to do their own part, because if you look at the results from the last election, the turnout of a population, a voting strength of just slightly under 1 million at then. Now it has increased to 1,050,000 votes or so, those who have collected their PVCs. The expectation is that they will come out, cast their ballot, and determine who will be or who will remain as governor.
Mustafa Mohammed, Shola Jasimi talked about senior officials moving in, electoral officials, security officials, media. Dark Communication has sent in a media crew that will give us indeed complete coverage of the election on Saturday. Security agencies are moving in. Election monitors are also moving in, not just for work. And this is something a lot of people will be uncomfortable if I raise it here. But that's the reality. As they are working, they're also looking at the sharings that are going on. We can't run away from this fact. Elections, especially governorship election, apart from the work they do, there's also lots of sharing. You understand what I mean, Musa?
Of course, the newspapers have reported this morning. In fact, the headline that the politicians, the stakeholders, the interested parties are already sharing rice, noodles, whatever things.
Is a different level. Why the voters are getting rice, noodles, those are
yes,
the
of course, you know that there's a lot of poverty. When you create poverty, most of the poverty in the country was a deliberate action by a deliberate creation, so that you can also use whatever thing you have as palliative to do it, even though it's wrong. You know, on election day, the EFCC usually goes about trying to handpick those who are going to distribute money in the polling booth corners and what have you. But I don't know what the EFCC has done about those who are sharing noodles, rice, and what have you. And don't forget that the politicians, whether in government or out of government, are people who are supposed to show the goodwill before the election. Remember the looting of food warehouses during Buhari. Some of these governors have collected palliatives from the federal government. There was massive poverty in the country. They refused to share it. And when people got wind of the locations of this food at different locations, they went en masse, broke into the warehouses, and everybody helped himself. But you see, sharing these things during election is part of the corruption that we have also been...
That's the one we see on the streets. The other one I talked about, because some politicians have come out to tell us plainly that the political parties and the candidates budget for security agencies.
Of course.
Budget for INEC, budget for media. That's the one I'm concerned.
Amechi, it is not just a matter of... poverty, like Mustafa said. It's a matter of greed and deep corruption. We have become so used to easy money in this country. You could just, make millions if you have the right connections and during elections like this. So this corruption is what is marring our electoral process. This corruption, these security agents are well mobilized, although in some cases you could see them, not being as well mobilized as possible, but there are better ways of seeking to meet your needs than this corruption. Okay, when you collect the money, what do you do with it? You decide to favor one person. Okay, this person is rigging in one corner, and you turn away your face. Deep corruption. And until we learn to have a conscience, our
and the
process.
person sharing, the politician sharing, the first thing they do when they get into office is to recoup and make profit before they think about working for the people.
If you have spent so much money, spent billions, what would you do? That's why we say, let's not monetize this polity. Let's do things properly. So when the man gets there, he's not under pressure to recoup. And secondly, even if he tries to do it, you can hold him to it. But you see, most times when they commit atrocities while in office, a lot of people who should actually zero in and hold them to accountability cannot do so because they have been compromised.
Absolutely.
They were part of the sharers, they were part of the looters before he came into office. So they can, even the security agencies, they can't, because they know what they conspired to do before he came into office.
Shola Jasimi, EFCC chairman, told us just after the primaries for the different political parties for the 2027 general elections were conducted, that some aspirants spent between 20 to 30 billion just for primaries alone.
Politics is heavily monetized, so it's not something new. And it's because of the poverty in the land. The citizenry, the electorates, and even some in the political class who believe, let me start with those who are in the political class, with due respect, a party chair who knows that all these aspirants, all these prospective candidates, how much can I rake in from each and every one of them? And he will say, I will ensure the delegates vote for you. And he says, okay, bring the 50, bring the 80, bring the 100 million. I know the amounts for bribery and all of that in the political setting is huge, depending on the office. So these are the things that we face. But back to Ekiti, which is the focus. Let's not forget that sometime in 14 or 20, or thereabout, the case of, that's where that thing got into our political lexicon, stomach infrastructure. We remember the person who coined that, the former governor of Ekiti State.
Ayodele. So is Ekiti the origin of stomach infrastructure?
I do not think so. I think Edo State is, because that was the first place we saw money being shared brazenly, openly.
No, I'm talking about that phrase itself.
Yes.
It was
stomach infrastructure.
It was, and he realized that apart from the grammar that some people he said they were speaking, that the people were hungry, that they were so hungry. And he started by doling out rice and all of that. In fact, if you recall, when
distributing water through tankers.
Thank you very much. Touching the lives of people through the basic things that they needed. So he said,
that's what government should be doing, and they were not doing,
yes,
and are not doing as we speak today.
No, not a few governments are doing the needful, yes, because we need to give it to them. Not a few have lovely projects where the lives of the basics of people are being touched. Portable water, lovely healthcare centers. Though some are derelict and all of that. So Ekiti people, I will emphasize, are the ones to decide whether they are satisfied with what they've got the last 4 years, or whether the other candidates who believe they can do better, will get their nod and get into government house.
But you see, they can still collect. But most of this money is being shared as stolen money from the public, whether
from the treasury.
The treasury. Therefore, if they bring those things collected, because once some of them get to power, you'll never see that. And of course, you're talking about bridges, healthcare. Most of the governors are competing to put up underpass and overhead bridges. A lot of them are copying Governor Zulum of Borno. You go to some of these northeastern and northwestern states where the healthcare is in serious problem, education is in shambles, people didn't have water to drink, they still drink from streams where donkeys and
they're
cows.
building overhead bridges.
Yeah, they are building
I know
bridges.
why.
Yeah, of course, Amechi, you know that when you are doing such huge white elephant project, you can inflate it, and then
what you can take away is bigger.
The construction companies will readily convert the differences into dollars and deliver dollars and pounds. It's actually a corruption. That's why the Bureau de Change are also very busy when the states collect their monthly allocation. It's very sad that this is happening in Nigeria. give people the project, give them what they need, the basic necessities of life. You still have other monies. And most of those who do these terrible things are over 50, some of them over 60. At that age, even if you have all the money in the world, you will be treating diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis, cancer. That's why at the international airport, every week you see some of them jetting out of the
India,
country.
Egypt, UAE, Germany for medical tourism.
For medical trips.
Well,
Even last year on my trip, I met some of them on my trip.
We want to quickly remind you that we'll be joined by Bukola Idowu, the Executive Director, Kimpact. Kimpact, of course, is already on ground in Ekiti. Kimpact Development Initiative, already on ground in Ekiti. We'll join him much later to give us perspectives on this upcoming election. But gentlemen of the press, have you noticed one thing about this election? It's almost a roller coaster for the ruling party. It appears there is no contest, and there could be some stories behind it. The other opposition parties were busy going to court, or trying to get other mandamus to compel INEC for PDP that their name must be on the ballot. These parties were fighting one issue or the other at the center. So in Ekiti State, it was almost as if the opposition does not exist going into this election.
One of the political parties tried to show its head in the run-up to this election, held a series of rallies and all of that. It's about wooing the people. Whoever is able.
That's the ruling party.
No, one of the other opposition parties. Okay. Yes, he tried to, pull its weight to say, "Look, I'm also here. I have a better alternative for you. If you elect me into getting into government house, I will do this. I will do that." So we must serve it back in the court of the Ekiti people. Those who will be casting their ballot on Saturday, just a few hours from now, they will need to determine whether what they are getting now, whether they are satisfied, whether the administration, which is there right now, has met their expectations.
And if there are credible alternatives,
they will be able to make those choices. It's in their hands, actually.
You use the word credible alternatives. What about a situation where there are credible alternatives, but they have been so muzzled, like you said, between going to court and doing other things to defend their very existence, not even any other matter. And then they don't really have the opportunity to get through to the people. The people are not even aware of what they are able to offer, apart from those who may be very popular, and the people already know them. That's why we're saying, let democracy thrive. Allow the opposition to breathe. Let the people have an alternative. Don't think only of you coming back, being re-elected. Don't think only of re-election. Think of the Nigerian people. They have a choice. That's the whole essence of democracy. And if they cannot ventilate that choice, then it's bad.
The truth of the matter is, just like Chinua Achebe of blessed memory, things fall apart. That statement, that title still holds a lot of water in our politics today. In almost all the political parties except the ruling party, the center is not holding. And when the center does not hold in any political party or any family, you know that crisis is bound to happen. And that's why the APC predictably can have a smooth sail in most elections, because they don't have a very serious challenger. And it's not just the center is not holding in many parties. You know that most of the strong people in many of these opposition parties have willingly move out and join the APC. The Englishman says, if you can't beat them.
Almost all the former governors are in full support of the APC candidate.
Of course, even the current governors. You can't count your 5 fingers when you're trying to count how many governors are in opposition.
No, I mean former governors of Ekiti State.
Yeah. So they have all joined the ruling party. But the beauty of democracy is that just like the past election, where, immediately after Buhari won, Atiku Abubakar, Buba Galadima named them, so many of them jump out concourse because the new scheme does not favor them. I don't think the APC needs to be very happy with the jumpology carried out by so many politicians, including former and present governors. Immediately after the election, if the platform does not favor so many of them. A lot of them will also move out.
Okay.
They will jump again.
Absolutely. Just to remind you that Bukola Ido will join us any moment from now. But first, let's share this report with you. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, distributing materials starting on Thursday ahead of the election on Saturday. Take a listen.
The distribution exercise commenced on Thursday morning at the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN branch located along New Inyi Road in Edo Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital. The process was closely monitored by electoral officers, security personnel, election observers, CSOs, representatives of political parties, and other critical stakeholders to ensure transparency and accountability. While addressing journalists, the resident electoral commissioner, Reg for Ekiti State, Bumi Omoshende, reiterated the commission's readiness for the exercise.
They should come out and vote en masse for the candidate of their choice, okay? And they should conduct it under peaceful atmosphere. Ekiti has been peaceful, and we promise them we are going to have free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election.
Speaking on security arrangements, the Commissioner of Police in charge of the Ekiti State 2026 governorship election, Abayomi Shogunle, said personnel have been fully deployed to escort the sensitive materials to all 16 local government areas and ensure their protection throughout the electoral process.
We have identified different elements here, and we are putting in place different measures to take care of the issues that have been identified.
1,059,360 voters have been registered with 2,455 polling units.
And the distribution of very sensitive electoral materials will continue today. Let's join Bukola Ido now live in Ado Ekiti, the capital of Ekiti State. He is the Executive Director of Impact Development Initiatives. He joins us virtually. Bukola, it's good to have you on the show. Can you hear me, Bukola? Yes, some network at your end not allowing us to get a real feel of you, audio and visual, but we hope it will improve. Can you hear me now, Bukola? Perhaps either you change the network you're using to indeed get your data, or you make a shift to some other place to see whether indeed the quality can improve. As we work on that, it's not just the law I'm seeing in the run-up to this Ekiti election, is also affecting the civil society, because in the past, civil societies, they organize town halls, they organize debate. Yeah. I can't remember seeing any this time. Even the media, the way the media has reported the run-up to this election, I didn't see that heightened reportage we see in other elections. Am I the only one noticing this?
No, I also noticed it. And again, you could say partly because of all the furore about the party primaries, you know, so much distraction, so many things to report. And it sort of took the shine away from the Ekiti election. And like you said, again, the CSOs, I think that's another area that we may need to sanitize, because you find that, yes, some of them are really committed, but there are some of them who have compromised. We see them when we go to cover elections, and you see CSOs talking as if they are members of political parties. Some of them will even try to call the media to a briefing in support of certain things that they know should not be part of the electoral process. So the CSOs, we need to also look into their activities towards elections.
Okay, let me just quickly give some perspectives to what I think. I think we must get to a point in this country where we don't get too overtly centralized when it comes to governorship elections. That's my prayer.
It appears Bukola's connection is getting better.
Okay, so if it's there, then
Bukola, can you hear us now? You may have to unmute yourself, your device. We can't hear you.
okay.
There's a wrong connection. We can see you clearly. The picture quality has improved, but we can't still hear you.
And it's really raring to go.
Yes, yes. Can you speak now, Bukola?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful. Now, you've been hearing us as we have this conversation analyzing the situation in Ekiti State. Let's have first your response to the issues we have raised there so far.
Well, I think I will start with the issue of Ekiti contest in terms of, I think you are right. The election that we are going to have in less than 48 hours or just on Saturday is an election that is, I think I call it one-way contest because it's the context in terms of competitiveness of this election is not on top notch. In fact, it is a highly predictable election that you can actually say, probably the incumbent is going to win it again. Compare that with Osun State, where the competition is higher presently, you see. And this is, I mean, a lot of things are responsible for this. Number one, you see, one of the things we need to understand is that the lack of competitiveness in this Ekiti election is not, and I repeat, is not directly proportional to the performance of the incumbent. And people need to understand that. It is not about the performance of the incumbent, it is about some other factors. Number one, the fragmentation of the opposition party. You see, and that is one of the things we as civil society are warning against at the national level. Because at the moment the opposition is weakened, then we are teetering towards having not a competitive election, but a ceremonial election that eventually we just give somebody just a leadway. And at the same time, this is also a lesson that opposition need to learn. You see, you need to find a way of putting your house in order to be able to stand the chance to contest in an election. Now, number two is also the democratic space within the state. If you really have analyzed the democratic space within the state, there have been some what we call suspicious and suspicious arrest of some opposition members in the state. And again, there are also been how open is the media space within this state. The opposition, do they also have the same access to the state media institution? So you need to also look at that. You see, that there was even what you call one of the things you also look at is the elite consensus as we move into this election. For instance, some of the opposition figure decided to pitch their tent in a bid to say they are supporting the president, or in a bid to curry favor from the president, have also decided to weaken their own political party and support the incumbent, invariably saying they are supporting Mr. President. For instance, you look at the former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, who sometimes ago and recently appeared at the APC campaign rally with PDP cap and said, look, I am a member of PDP, but I'm supporting this man and I'm supporting Asiwaju. And then he came to that campaign with a lot of his of PDP member who are also saying the same thing. So then that tells you in time, and then you look at other opposition figure in the last election who have decided to remain silent. You talk about the Segun Oni, who have decided to remain silent, and a whole lot of things in this election. But what's the
and when there is silence, it reinforces the fact that you're in support of the party in ascendancy.
Yes, I mean, it could mean, I mean, that is one narrative. It means that, and at the same time, you can also look at the aspect of intimidation. Intimidation can also make you to keep silent and not talk. So one, silence can mean I am in support of you, but again, if I'm in support of you, does not necessarily mean I will keep quiet. I can also voice my opinion and say, look, this man has done well. But again, silence can also mean that somebody has been intimidated and then he decided to keep quiet for peace sake. Number three, it could also mean in terms of inducement. You see, a whole lot of factors are in place that when you now begin to analyze it and then begin to ask yourself, why is it that the opposition in Ekiti State is like
now you are confirming the fact that there's money, there's corruption, as you mentioned, inducement. What does that portend to these elections now?
Well, what it portends for this election is that you are going to have one political party having advantage of resources above others, and what it's now going to give you is that you are going to have a one-way contest, and like we are going to see. So you are likely going to see what you call probably a wide gap between the winner and the first runner up. So that is likely what we are going to see. But for me, that is not even an issue. But the issue here is that when you are going to have an election that is not going to be highly competitive like you are going to have it, it's also good to now shine your light on INEC processes and procedures, and this is going to be very unique in like about three different ways. Number one, this is the first election now that the Electoral Act will be used in full force. The new Electoral Act of 2026 will be used in full force. So it's good to see how INEC will interpret some of the processes and procedures in that Electoral Act, most especially the electronic transfer of results. Number two is that 3 weeks ago, INEC released the new electoral guideline that is in tandem. They developed after the Electoral Act of 2026 has been signed into law. So this is also the first election that electoral guideline will be used. And don't forget, there have been cases of Supreme Court sometimes ago that said, look, electoral guideline of INEC cannot supersede, the electoral guideline of INEC cannot supersede the Electoral Act. And that, if you remember 2023 election, when the electoral guideline talked about transmission and then IREF, but the Electoral Act was silent about that, and then people like Peter Obi, Atiku Abubakar that went to court based on that could not get their judgment because some of these things are in the electoral guideline, not in the Electoral Act. So it will be good to see how INEC is going to also utilize their own guideline. One of the things INEC put in that guideline that is very interesting is the administrative procedure to correct an election result after it has been declared. The Electoral Act give INEC have 7 days to review, but INEC have come up with a guideline to say this is how we can review election results if it is being declared under duress or whatever, if there are the administrative mistake. So it will be good to also see that. And thirdly, which is the last one for me, or let me say second to the last, let me add one. I said 3 before, let me make it 4. Number 3 is that this is the first election that the new chairman will be in charge fully in terms of planning and execution. Mm-hmm. So that is like
he wasn't in charge for the planning of Anambra. He wasn't in charge for the planning of Anambra, but he was in charge of execution.
Yes,
but this one he's involved in both planning and execution.
In FCT, he wasn't in charge of the planning fully; he was in charge of execution. But this one is in charge of planning, is in charge of execution. So this is the time to also look at that. And it's always good from the first election to see the psychology of the new leadership and what is likely good, what we should be looking at. And lastly, Ekiti, whether you like it or not, is a semi-litmus test for what we are going to see in 2027 in terms of INEC processes, conduct of security agencies, even judicial interpretation of petitions. So it's going to be a semi-litmus test. And I say semi-litmus test because Osun is going to be the real litmus test in terms of you can see that Osun is I think after Osun, you just have like about 6 months to the general election. But the competitiveness in that place, now there is a ruling party here who is the opposition in Osun. So you now begin to see why, we need this dynamic, we need to put it together so that we can have a very credible and transparent election, each free in 2020.
Taking you back to the opposition parties, you talked about arrests earlier. What were the reasons for that arrest?
Well, I think a lot of people are, these are not these are just like allegation. And then, of course, the security agency tells you that they suspected, in fact, there are some people that were, you see, I think what it is that there have been accusation of rape, there have been accusation of violence. But what some of the opposition are saying is that the people that have been arrested, of course, the security agency have their charges, legitimate charges. But, when they want to paint things with a political coloration, they will say they are members of the opposition or they are strong people in their political party. So, and I think these are the allegations. But as it may, we still cannot say police should not do their job, but at the same time, we also have to see how we purge ourselves from political arrest when we are getting closer to the election. Because I keep saying it, all our institutions, whether police, Nigerian Army, the DSS, the judiciary, they are called Nigerian police for a reason. They are called Nigerian Army for a reason. It is the Supreme Court or the judiciary of Nigeria for a reason. They are not PDP or APC police. They are not. You see, we need to begin to see how our institution will be truly independent. And that is one of the tenets of democracy. You see, our loyalty, we need to begin to see like, okay, is our loyalty to a man or to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Is our loyalty to political party or to the country as it is? So these are conversations we need to begin to have on our election. So as it is now, you see, even in some quarters, some people still believe that, okay, the security agency, will they be neutral in the election? And those are some of the things we need to begin to look at, because election, the security agency need to be 100% neutral, because they are just to protect the process and protect the people. But when you now begin to look like you are working for a particular political party, then the danger of it is that we are stylishly killing our democracy. And and that is why, if you look at the latest ranking of Freedom House, across democracy globally, rank Nigeria as authoritarian democracy. And the challenge about that is that, look, we can be having an election every 4 years, but that does not mean we are 100% totally practicing democracy, because democracy election is just an aspect.
Exactly.
And for us to be having that, and we don't need to mistake conducting regular election for practicing democracy, because one of it is that independent judiciary, independent legislature, independent institution, that they are able to hold other accountable without necessarily everybody becoming like a rubber stamp and then begin to subvert constitution for a purpose.
Okay, Bukola, you are there in Ekiti. You are in Ado, I believe. And you are there in your, I don't know whether it's in the hotel or your temporary office. Have you been round Ado or even round Ekiti, yourself and members of your civil society group, to ask them, the electorate, their expectations, whether there's any sign of voter apathy? Because those are the basic elements.
And whether the lack of competitiveness will lead to voter apathy.
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question in two ways, practically and theoretically. But I have been on ground. I have moved around. I was at the CBN yesterday when the sensitive materials have been distributed, and we've also interact with stakeholders, and we've also interact with the citizen. So what it means is everybody.
Go ahead.
Go on, please.
Bukala, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Everybody I agree that this is like a one race contest. But now this is where theoretically, in terms of academics now, you see, anytime you are having like a perception, predictability perception that look, the election is already done. The election, I mean, there is nothing you can do that this man is going to win. When you connect it together, there is always a low voter turnout, because some people don't just go and waste their time and say, look, whether I go out or not, this man is going to win, and that is it. So they want to use the time for another thing. So when you look at it academically, the perception of predictability may likely give us low voter turnout in this election.
Okay.
So that is number one. Don't forget the last turnout. In fact, in Ekiti, the turnout has been coming down. In 2014, it was around 50%. And then in 2018, it was around 50%. In 2022, it came down. In fact, 2022 was 36%. So there is likelihood, my expectation is not high because it's a one-way race. But academically, you are likely going to have a low voter turnout because people just believe that, okay, it's going to be one way. However, the other side, why the theory, the academics may not work, is the presence of vote buying. Because the vote buying is going to be there, the inducement is going to be there. You see, so that alone, and don't forget the standard of living in Ekiti is also very low. In terms of inflation, food inflation in Ekiti is high. Go and check the statistic of MBS. So that is one to tell you that, look, vote buying may also draw people out to come out and vote. So when you marry the two, there is something on paper and there is something on the motivation of vote buying that we do. But you need, I think, let me predict the next question. The next question will be that, okay, why are they going to buy votes if it's going to be one-way ticket? Yeah, because there have to be a conferment of legitimacy, you know, and that is one of the things you see. So the question is not if, I think the pressure is not like you are going to win, or whether you are going to win or not, you know you are going to win. But the pressure is to have 16-0. The pressure is to have more people coming up to confer legitimacy on that particular election. Okay. And that is why, so for instance, let's go back to Anambra 2021 election. The voter turnout in Anambra 2021 election was 10.8%. And for long, the conversation was on that, look, how legitimate is that? Okay. That you have 10% of the total registered voter coming out to vote. So what the pressure I see here is that, you know, you are going to win, but people are still going to buy votes. So that, look, they want more people to come out, okay, so that number could be higher in terms of legitimacy. So this is okay, our own analysis of what is likely going to happen on Saturday.
And we have to say thank you so much. You anticipated, the anticipated question is actually the last. I have done justice to it. Perhaps when we open our Ekiti election, that's Nigeria Election Situation Room, Ekiti 2006. On Saturday and Sunday, we'll bring you in to share perspectives as the election go on. But you also mentioned one important thing, the categorization of our democracy, authoritarian democracy, where institutions have been hijacked. And you say we are willfully going towards that. Are we concerned about that? What steps do we do to pull back from that direction and indeed make our democracy the envy of all? I have to thank you so much, Bukola Udowu, Executive Director, Impact Development Initiative, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's good to join you. Thank you.
Let's go for a breakdown. When we come back, death by hanging, Governor Monday Okpeholo is speaking. But before we bring him in to share insights, let's go for a commercial break.
TerraCube. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's hear from Governor Monday Okpeholo, who apparently is enraged with the spate of kidnapping in his state.
It is cheaper for you to maintain your standard than to say you want to go and kidnap. Because when you kidnap, what you have before you will lose it. At the same time, you will lose your life. Now we are going to set up a special court to try kidnappers and cultists. Within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we are done with it. And I will sign it. Your execution, hanging. I will take you to the roundabout. That is Ring Road roundabout, so that the whole Edo people will see you. And this, I will not have any regret about it. So please, don't take my simplicity for granted.
I swear, when last did that happen? The good old days, the military, they did public execution. Let's have your comments, gentlemen of the press.
You know, some people for a very long time have experienced these kidnappings. I've spoken to a few victims among the high and mighty, as well as the ordinary citizens in the country. Some of the problems with the country in terms of criminal justice administration is lack of severe penalty. It's not about poverty. If poverty will push people to become criminals, every other person will have become a criminal in the country. So we need this severe punishment, not just for kidnapping, even for rape, even for defilement and whatever thing you are going to speak about.
And for corruption too, more importantly.
Corruption too in China. It's very common, hanging people for corruption. So I think the governor deserves commendation, and other governors should need to, follow suit.
What I'll just say is this. We can see the passion with which Governor Monday Okpeholo spoke. He was addressing, if you look at the direction of his eye, he was addressing persons who had been paraded by the police there at the Edo State Police Command.
Those that carried out the latest kidnapping in Edo State that were caught.
Who are alleged, criminals. And he was telling them of what he will do. But I feel for him, because he believes strongly that with the efforts that he's putting in to ensure the state makes progress, that people should not give that state some bad optics. But he's the governor, and he's saying that he will set up special courts. If you go back a little, in 2013, one of his own predecessors, Adams Oshomole, also had a proposal sent to the Edo State House of Assembly. The Edo State House of Assembly passed that law, death for kidnappers, convicted.
So a law already exists.
Exactly.
Probably was not aware of it.
Yes, but the aspect which he has brought up now is that there will be special courts. In the existing law, Governor Shomole said there shouldn't be that the regular court should try suspected kidnappers. So that's the novel aspect of what he is saying now. Special courts will try. So he
can propose to the judiciary, because it's the judiciary that will set it up.
Yes.
Can only propose to them.
Yes. So he will do the need. What's the needful? He sends a bill for an amendment. It gets to the House of Assembly. If they pass it, the state CJ has nothing but to ensure this is set up, because the criminal code is not something that just operates at the federal level. State governors, state governments have the right to, follow dispensation of justice and capital punishment in the matters they deem fit.
Yes, and I think another aspect that he added is being very specific about the manner of death. There's death by hanging. Well, let's say that he's a man who has come to terms with the fact that it is his duty to ensure the safety of lives and property in his state. And he's taking measures that he believes would deter would-be criminals, because by the time you punish, by the time you sanction, of course, there is that fear that will deter those who are aspiring or who would want to commit such offenses. Because before now, a lot of people feel or felt that they can get away with a whole lot of things, manipulate the system, manipulate in as much ways as you can, and then you get away with it. Or you go to for life sentence, and some of them will tell you that when they sentence them to life, sometimes it's other people that are exchanged to serve it for them. I don't know how true that is. A whole lot of conspiracy theories around that. But commendation to Governor Okpeholo. He has taken a step that I believe that any right-thinking individual, any right-thinking human being would be deterred. Even if you have the intention to do such, you will think twice.
Well, as the authorities take steps to indeed arrest and put a hold on the worsening security, they should also be aware that there are some socioeconomic conditions that appear to encourage this. They should also think of tackling it. Very important. And as death for kidnappers, bandits, terrorists is being raised up everywhere. What are for corruption? Do we borrow from China? Because some Nigerians have indeed known that there are bandits, there are bandit terrorists, there are political bandits, there are economic bandits.
And economic Boko Haram.
Economic bandits and economic Boko Haram. Do we also prescribe death penalty for them? You know, those that will likely fall victim, those in government. But let's hear from you as we read some of the mails in our Citizens' Perspective segment.
Edward Ishaya from Apo, Abuja, says, late President Buhari was widely criticized as one of the worst presidents Nigeria has ever had, and for good reason. But I think one credit we fail to give him is the fact that he preached and attempted to practice low-cost governance and to make politics less attractive. A notable step was reducing the number of ministers to the barest minimum required by the Constitution. However, in sharp contrast, Buhari's successor, despite being from the same political party, decided to do the exact opposite. We are now witnessing not just the most bloated government in history, but an administration that lives a flamboyant lifestyle by prioritizing the renovation of the presidential residence, the purchase of a presidential jet, a presidential yacht, and bulletproof cars, all in the midst of orchestrated hardship on the citizens. I believe this trajectory is very dangerous for us as a nation and must be reversed as quickly as possible. It has led to the over-monetization of politics, which makes people enter politics not to serve the people, but to serve their own bank accounts. And Emeka Mba from Abuja says, please permit me to ask about the whereabouts of our dear President, Tinubu, who I notice has not made any public appearance for some time now, except for the Democracy Day address, which I doubt was done live. It's on record that all his scheduled public appearances, including commissioning of landmark projects to mark his administration's third year in office, were done by him being represented. So I ask, where is President Tinubu? The country is visibly in dire straits right now, especially with rising insecurity, getting out of hand, and other myriad problems threatening the existence of this country, which demands that the president be seen every day, brainstorming with relevant authorities, digging for solutions.
Omolayo John has written in from Orozo. Orozo is here in Abuja, the Nigerian capital. And it says that Ekiti citizens will decide on Saturday, the 20th of June, on who will lead them for the next 4 years. To the good people of my beloved state, election is not war, nor a do-or-die affair. All the former governors are now together for one aspirant. Citizens must not divide themselves for civil unrest and disturbance. The next one is from Ruby Chinenye, also from Abuja. I heard someone say, the future starts now. Then I responded, the future starts with the 22 political parties in Nigeria sending the right candidates to the ballot. APC, out of 200 billion Nigerians, see Tinubu as the competent candidate. ZLP, out of 200 million Nigerians, sees no one better than himself for the past 3 terms. Who is fooling who? The Senate and the House of Representatives and Assemblies are unpatriotic, No voice, no substance. Who sent them there? Not the people, of course, but politicians, the real enemies of Nigeria. True change in Nigeria will begin at the reformation of political parties. Their ideologies and visions start and end on paper, a few on their website. That's all. How sad. How really sad. As long as the wrong sets are on the ballot, bullets will fly. Snatching of ballot boxes will be endless. The likes of Professor Mahmood will still shut the door of the IREF to effect and render voters useless.
Well, he doesn't sound optimistic there, but we'll have to encourage him to do so. The much you can take on our program Political Platform today. On behalf of the crew, my name is Amici, and we'll have a good weekend.